received 300,000 in January. It was awarded in January. That's additional funding. That came from a discretionary fund straight from Federal Highways. It doesn't come through VIA or state. It just comes straight from the top. An additional, that's an additional to our current funding, and it's 170,000. That's our regular amount that we get every year. Well, not regular, but it's part of that allocation. Ridership has increased dramatically since the year before and last year, between those 2 years. I did list the numbers in there. 2012 we had 536 riders. 2013 we had 8,679. And we added 2 more buses on 2 different routes. For that, the majority of the riders that increased it were from wild Lodgegrass schools. A lot of them were going to school on it, and then of course we have students attending Little Bighorn College. And then there's also an increase from prior. Our mileage has really increased. That's because of the traveling that we have to do on the reservation. The upcoming training for departmental staff and drivers, there's one coming up here in a couple weeks. They'll be drivers will be trained on, they call it a pass training. It's teaching them how to tie down wheelchairs, more or less kind of look over the buses and everything, that everything's in safe working order. And also they'll be certified in that area. But, all in all, the program's been running smoothly. You know, we all have bumps and bruises every now and then, but we still manage to keep it going. We intend to have a mid-morning run from Crow to Pryor. It's a kind of a test run to see how that's going to work out. We'll stop at the sub-office in Billings, and hopefully maybe we might have another stop up there someplace. We'll see how that in the plans, but they'll stop there in Billings and then continue on to Pryor, and then from Pryor back again, and then back to Crow here. And then we do one more round, and then it'll stop. And that's what we have in mind right now.
Thank you all. To go open the floor for questions, comments. I think there's a great opportunity for the Crow Nation to have a transit system. We always talked about it, we always dreamt about it, I guess, and now we have it. So and I know many of us are taking advantage of it. And I think it's sometimes you'd see the Cheyennes transit stopping at McDonald's, and this was a few years ago. We'd be saying, man, Crows should do that too, but now I see that we're doing it now, so I think it's a great program that's being implemented. Floor recognizes Paul, Spotted Horse.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank Terry. Alvin, I have a question for you. Oh yeah, it's pretty good program, the transit. Do you have anything in mind for like the way these buses are being run every day? You know, and you got maintenance side, you know, like buses running like that. They need to be up to standards and everything. You know, be on the safe side. You got backups for those, or do you have rotation, or touch? In my opinion, buses, because I've been driving for about 27 years, so, you know, the company I work for, they had, you know, backup, and then they get these buses offline, and they do what they needs to be done to keep them safe and running like they're supposed to. You know, I'm just saying to try to keep these buses in good working order, you know, with backups, and so we can keep this operation running. Or we're just going to run these buses in the ground and buy some more.
We do have a little system set up. The main route buses, they run in the morning and they shut down part of the day, and then they pick back up late in the afternoon. In between that time, it gives us enough time to do our maintenance on the buses. And we have 2 or 3 other buses that are in the yard that we use for backup. In case one has to go down and go into the shop, at least we have the other buses covered in the route. The life of a bus is 7 years. The mileage, that's why we're going with the diesel instead of the gas, because the diesel you can put on a lot more mileage than you can with the gas motor. So we're kind of switching over from the gas to the diesel. So the majority of our fleet is diesel. And the maintenance portion of it, like I say, during the day when they're shut down, we take them into the shop and have oil changes. And you also kind of go through the front end and everything and check the tires out. So there is enough time to do all that, and we do have backup on these buses. So when it comes time to replace them, it'd be after 7 years. And I think you can get about almost a little over 300,000 on these buses on mileage before we can take them offline.
Would it be kind of like say, I know the money's always a problem. Like, instead of buying these new buses, why can't we buy some extra ones now and get them in rotation so we can use them longer instead of 7 years?
Well, like I say, we could do that, but it's our funding. We put in for a bus, if it gets approved, it takes about a year to a year and a half before we receive it anyway. And like I say, the buses can be run for 7 years or a little over 300,000, and we can trade those in, and they'll purchase another bus to replace that. So basically, the tribe's not really burdened with purchasing them. It's the Qtr Transit Association we more or less put the burden on them to get us the buses. And it's just like BIA, they provide technical assistance to the tribes. And that's the same thing with the Qtr Transit. So, I don't see why we couldn't buy extra buses myself, but it's just the process of getting them in. And then we have to more or less have verification, all the backup, why we need this extra bus.
Floor witness, Qtr Session.
Hello, Mr. Speaker, Vice Chairman, Secretary, members, and guests. Alvin, did you get to talk about the grant that's coming in? The $300,000? Did you happen to get to speak to that? For transit?
It's there, the award. Yeah, it's sitting in FTA right now.
But you didn't get to speak to it yet?
Yeah.
You didn't get to speak to that issue yet?
I just brought up that 300,000. That's all I have on.
Okay. I just wanted to add to that because we did get a notice from John Tester for that.
Oh yeah. We did. Well, actually, it was a phone call from one of his assistants up there.
And he sent me a letter stating to that effect that we're getting this, kind of reiterating the 600 and some thousand over there for the hydro and then 300,000 for the federal transit. So I just wanted to let the rest know here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when. They gave a call to us in the office there back in February and congratulated us on our work.
Any more questions? Brandon.
Okay, I got one. Well, I got 2 questions. First question, in the Wyola area, in the Food District, the cluster there, when they're in compliance now, does pay in rent, does that cover the water bill that they have too, or does housings pay the water bill? Is that money supposed to be generated back to the you call it AWA?
That one there, you almost lost me there. The second.
Oh, this is about the wastewater and water authority.
Yeah. Basically, they were supposed to have a charge for that service. Yeah, the water is free, but to maintain that, to treat that water and everything, you know, that costs money. And, that's, I think it was in March, we were supposed to get the brochures out, have a public meeting on this to warn them that they're gonna be charged a certain amount a month. And I think it's just a flat rate. I don't think they're gonna go with, the amount of usage. 'Cause if you go with the amount of usage, actually, you're gonna pay more than what's gonna be implied on.
So is there an agreement with the wastewater authority and housing that it's covered in the rent?
As far as I know, there's nothing like that. I think they're separate. Because, see, everything that pertains to housing, that's under housing. Up here, for example, up here on the heights here, the line, the water main and the sewage right in the middle of the road, that's always, but when you get to that curb, from the curb to the house, that's housing.
Okay. Second question was, kind of want to bring up for this year. I was kind of going door to door, getting the community, getting them ready for the district meeting. And when I go, one of the main issues was, they said the chlorine was high. And one thing was addressed to me was one day you said that it smelled pretty bad like the chlorine, and she said when she drank it, it burned her throat.
Was that about 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were kind of an operator team there. Yeah. They got that straightened out now. So.
I've known in the past that they say that EPA requires that minimum, I think it's 0.05 in the drinking water.
Yeah, somewhere around there. 0.5 to 0.7. It wasn't, they didn't have too much to, didn't have too much play in there, so to speak, you know, to cover that.
That's just, they addressed that to me, so I was just addressing it to you.
Okay.
But you just keep monitoring that, whoever's in charge.
Yeah, the director of that program has been keeping me updated on it, and they're doing their best to try to keep everything running the way it should be and get all the testing and all that in. And then at the same time, they want to create that quality drinking water, and they're doing what they can. Because they have Wyola and Pryor as well. So there's two guys that kind of go around. But they do have an operator, like in Wyola, they have one there, and then they have another one there. And they're trying to keep tabs on it and make sure they're adding the right amount of chemicals and stuff to the water.
Take one more, Florida, that's Duke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, Secretary, not afraid. I got two questions, but I'll start with my third one first. No, seriously, the lagoon, when is in Pryor? When is that going to be up and running, or what are they shooting to get that done?
Well, the last time I talked to the director of the program, they shut down just because of the season, you know, the winter season. And I think they were shooting for June or July. June or July of this year to have it completed. I mean, you know, they kind of gave themselves some room for a completion date. So it could be done, a month after they get started, but they're shooting for, a deadline of July.
So, as soon as they start, it'll take another month to complete that.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause, I think they were like 50% done on that. Lagoon, it's a 4 cell.
Okay. Then, my other question, I kind of brought it up, touched on it a little bit yesterday, and that was the transit. I know that it goes and, to the reservation line where, Chana's White Man lives, you know?
Yeah.
And then they pick them up sometimes. And then it goes to Billings and then comes around to, Billings. And my question is this, I know that, I talked to my nephew, he rides that sometimes, but he said it takes quite a long time to get back home. And they look at, what they leave about 6 or 5:30.
5:30.
5:30, and then they actually get home about 6:30. 6:30 or 7. 7, yeah, they get back to Pryor at 7, so that's a long ways, you know, if you're riding that to work and coming to school. So this is my question, can there be a direct, transit that just goes directly to Pryor and then not pick up Chanis, so Chanis can be picked up in Billings somehow?
Don't
It's
look
just-
at me.
I mean, this is a serious question. Chanis is just an example.
Well, China's gonna write to Congress on us, I'm gonna go against it. No, yeah, you know, we're open to all suggestions and ideas so that we can serve, the people that, more or less, provide that service. And right now, the way it runs now is providing service for workers to get to pro. You know, that's what, we have quite a few of them, not just from prior buildings coming to pro in the mornings. And the reason why the schedule is so early is that you need to be down here by 8 or before 8. So that's the reason why the schedule starts off early. So as far as your question on scheduling another bus through there, say we're gonna run the schedule, this mid-morning schedule, and at the same time, we wanna do some, surveys, get that out there, so that would give us, an idea of what we need out there, how big of a bus, and how many riders we're gonna have. See, the funding itself is where it's at, where we have to, we have the funding, we can schedule a better schedule, it could be a short run, it could be a long run, you know, it just depends on the demand. If we get a decent demand out of it, then it's worth running that route. And the following years in Fort, we don't get that extra funding until the year after we do our report, so our a year behind formulated by that report. So the sooner we get this done, at least another year or so, we'll have a good route running in there.
I think Jay has some competition here. Thank you, Alvin. Mr. Henning Hunter, moving on to the next one. Thank you, I appreciate that. Great report.
You see on your schedule of presenters that Marlon Haas is cabinet for finance was supposed to be coming up next, but he's going to be waiting to assist the Secretary of the Audit right at the end. So we're going to move from there to the next presenter, who will be George Reed, Preservation Board Chairman.
Floor recognizes George Reed, also known as Sunny Jew.
Thank you, Speaker, Senator Welch, Secretary, members of the Congress here,
and distinguished guests. I have a counterpart. I have this, everything I'm saying is at Dr. Henry Hunter's office. Mission statement, goals, objectives, activities, timelines, short range, long range, medium range goals. And, but I'm involved in many undertakings. I'm a director, a cabinet head. I am chairman of the culture committee, whose oversight on the culture department. I'm chairman of the preservation board, whose oversight of the Tribal Historical Preservation Office. I consult with about 4 or 5 different programs. And so I'm kind of flighty. I'm here and there. Wherever I'm needed, I go. So, but first, let me introduce Stanley. He's going to represent the TIPO officer who is in the conference in Bismarck.
Floor is Stanley Prudhoe.
Wazir, Vice Chair, body of the legislature. Just like Sonny Joe said, we're pretty busy, and my boss is Bismarck. He's consulting, so our second in command is Roberta Fish and maternity. So what's that does mean? That's who you got today. So bear with me. Crow Tribal Historic Preservation Office, Q1, January 1st, 2014 to March 31st, 2014. Face-to-face consultations. The TIPO, Tribal Historical Preservation Office, consulted with the National Park Service in Rapid City for changes in policies at Devil's Tower, Bear Lodge, on January 30th, 2014. Consulted with the National Park Service and Estates Institutes on biodiversity at Estes Park, March 3rd through the 6th. Consulted with the Army Corps of Engineers in Bismarck, North Dakota, March 12th and 13th, 2014. Attended the USFWS Eagle Summit in Denver, Colorado, March 20th. We had 213 consultants through our website from the FCC for the quarter. We are billing $350 per consultations. For the quarter, we generated 74,550 through the FCC cell tower notification system. 24,600 was in checks submitted to our office, and the rest of that balance through the PayPal account. This summer, we are projecting 2 major projects from Cloud Peak and Phillips 66. Cloud Peak wants us to survey 4,000 acres in the area of the mine. Phillips 66 wants us to survey the pipeline as it crosses the reservation. We had to decline the Crow Water Resource Department due to payment issues and to the fact that we will be too busy doing these committed projects. With a large area that Cloud Peak covers and the distance of the pipeline, we are projecting 40 TIPO inspectors this summer. We will also be monitoring 7 construction projects on the reservation and all of the cell towers constructions. The TIPO requirements for hire are that they complete 40-hour peri-archaeologist training that will be taking place the week of April 21st. They must submit the urinalysis test prior to employment. We will also require a driver's license, access to four-wheel vehicles, and ability to travel 2 weeks at a time. We have also applied to 2 grants. The first grant is for an $80,000 grant with NAGPRA, NAGPRA, and 35,000 heritage grants to National Park Service. That's my report for today.
Shonda, any questions? Can you hand it to George on your report?
Like I said, I'm a director and cabinet head and chairman. I'm everything in one body. I'm like Father, Son, Holy Ghost. People are inquiring about TV poles. We're having a conference with the National Park Service next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And if you have a representative, they're welcome to be there on the 16th, Wednesday, 2 o'clock.
Where?
We don't have no conference room, so we'll have to scout around. Our room is not too big. So we'll work on that. I'll let you know. We've had a tough winter due to severe weather and the financial strains, the reduction of hours, and even now my staff, I'm not quite sure who's going to take a day off and who's going to be here, but I'm there 80 hours pay period, although I'm on productive. I'm 32 hours, but I still work 40. So I'm kind of working for the Lord in a bit. And we've had a lot of fans for basketball. You notice most of us are basketball fans, so we have relatives, children, grandchildren, you know, so now that's behind us. So, like I said, our goals, mission statement are filed with the CEO. And today I would like to elaborate a little bit on some of our medium range goals. And so I'm going to start to take it upon myself, you know, to come out of my pocket and try to strive some of those goals. And this week, my nephew, who's not on staff, is going to take me out. He's cowboys in that Bear Coulee area around the Wilkett Ranch. He knows where there's teepee, buffalo jumps with drive lines. So we're going to go video record them, and we're going to relate the stories, and we'll hopefully learn some CDs for anybody, especially but for our children. And then I talked to the geologist about, you've ever been in the Bighorn Canyon, you know, there's a lot of history. The rock formations, you know, there's various stages, eras, and the most recent is the Cambrian era, and I don't know how many thousands of years. As you go back into that canyon, you go 12, 15 miles, on the west side of the canyon, past that hole in the rock, there's an outcrop, ledges, and they're erupting. And you go back in time 500 million years, and that history is there. I think that our children should know, or anybody that's interested to know. And right due north of there is that hole in the rock, and just due north of there, a few little protrusions on the canyon wall is where that the legend of the Bighorn is. The little boy was thrown off the canyon wall, so we'll get that on video and relate the story. And see, what I'm trying to do is to preserve our culture and history for our youth. Our intellectual property rights, it doesn't belong to nobody. People researchers come, scholars come, and they gather this information for their own personal gain. They get degrees on our literature or history. And I think it should be preserved for our children. For the ones that want to know, we should have an office. I thought the college would do it, where people want to learn about us. People want to know why we do these things. How do you go about naming a child? I think it should be there at their request. And I'm striving to do that because people come to me and ask me questions and they say, which are one of my best grandfathers, which one would you recommend? You know, I'm afraid I might put someone in, get them in hot water because, you know, so they don't know their grandfathers. They want to find out, so a lot of things in the meal. But now I'm going to try to strive on my own, and I hate to say this. My wife says don't say it. My hands are tied. I've got felons on my staff. And so there, you know, I can't hardly seek funds because in 2001, I told you before I got a grant, I called it Retaining Dying Arts. I was never allowed to use that, but I want to go that route, but I can't. My hands are tied. And Chippo is rich. They bring in money. And maybe if that money can be kept away from the central account, you know, because it's gobbled up. Like 74,000 they brought in, it's gone. So you can ear tag that someplace. Maybe I might be able to utilize some of that, give some of my gold, by the way. Each of these various programs, you know, they're quasi-affluent. They have federal funds, you know, they have monies to do certain things with me. I'm a pauper, but I want my department to be something like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the most famous reindeer of them all. There's going to be singing, there's going to be storytelling, and I want to get that off the ground, but like I say, there's a lot of fun tonight. And I sound like a broken record, but again, you know, it's finances. We're trying to revive some of our cultural ways. And back in the 70s, these junior aero tournament participants had to be in school in order to participate. Someone looked at that restriction, so they said 18 and under. If you're 18 and under, you can throw arrows. I think we have this dropout problem. I'm trying to work that back in where if you're in school, you can throw arrows. You want to develop this arrow throwing league among the schools. But my crew is always constantly busy. They sing at birthday parties, basketball games, and social activities, so they're usually in and out. My long-range goal is to try to get a documentary on the teepee. Start from the bottom, set out the pose, erect the teepee, and then tell a story. So we follow the route of the sun, and there's a proper way to set up a teepee. The four poles throw to the right, like the route of the sun. And each pole has a place, significance, and I think our children should know. I think you should know. If you don't know nothing about a TV, you shouldn't put it up, because you either do it right or don't do it at all. So I think that's most of my presentation.
Oh, now the floor is open for questions, comments. Floor recognizes Congress. Go ahead.
Sonny Joe, I went to this STV board meeting. First time I think the legislative branch, any of us were invited to that Surface Transportation Board. And I know you probably understand that the discussion was concerning the Tongue River Railroad over here on the other side of Coast Strip, Ashland. What I didn't understand, and well, I guess kind of baffled me, was that we got all these they act like they can talk for us in this area, And under the 1851, 1825, 1868 Foreign Enemy treaties, and all this area was our property. But yet, they acted like they had some say at the top. And I got up and I said, maybe I'm innocent to this, but why are all you here? Crows should be talking to the Cheyennes about this. How come we gotta listen to what you guys suggest? Standing Rock jumped up and they were trying to tell us what to do and trying to do this and do that. And we even had different ones from Fort Peck, different areas, all claiming that they had something to do with our area. And what I did understand was that they had a lot of power. These cultural tipo monitors, they had a lot of pull. One of the guys from Turtle Mountain came up and talked to me. He said, "You're elected official?" I said, "Yeah, I'm in the legislative branch." And he says, "Send me as many monitors as you got over there." He said, "I can pay the $400 minimum," he said. "Room and board and everything," he said. So that got me thinking that they could pay more. There's money for that. They have money for that. These other agents or other tribes, when I asked questions how big their program was, they were self-sufficient. They pulled in all these funding into their own account. It didn't go into that abyss of the general fund. And it got me thinking that the TIPO program is just as strong as the tarot if we used it right. See, that's our downfall. We don't research and we're ignorant to the fact that we're strong. Tarot has the first preference, Native Americans and Crows. We use our own money. Tipple, we were first ones in, first ones out, or last ones out. And when I seen that was something that kind of opened my eyes, because I think a lot of these guys don't know this, but I was able to sit in on those meetings and sit at the table and have these discussions. And Conrad Fisher didn't like it, but I asked him, I said, "How come you guys are here talking about this? We gave you this land." And he didn't like it. But I'm just telling what I know. And I mean, the federal government has documented in such a way that that's our land. And when I asked these questions, and I said, "How do you guys survive? Do you guys subsidize your budget with your general funds or your monies?" And they said, "No, we bring these money in. This is our money. Nobody can touch this." And that money that they were generating was in the millions. And they were able to do a lot of things for their people. As far as like what you're saying, documentaries, they're doing little mini powwows, cultural, language immersion, things like that. They were doing all these different things, utilizing their own monies. And why can't we do this? How come we can't continue to try to help ourselves? We just get a little bit of money, we get all tickled, and we get all, we go cross-eyed, and then we get that money and we want to spend it right away. I want to ask you, how can we help this program? How can we try to make sure that program can be self-sufficient instead of getting in trouble? People get a hold of that money, they get in trouble. How can we help ourselves there? I want to ask you that.
Tipo was my brainchild. When Clifford was chairman, I used to be everything again, like I am today. I used to go and be consultant. And these other tribes, they had archaeologists, they had lawyers as tribal historical preservation officers. And here me, I had to represent our tribe. So I started working on reviving this culture committee. And Clifford appointed some members and we got that off the ground. And then I approached the late Carl Van and that's where it started, this TIPO. In 2005 it was passed into law and Dale O'Horn is written in that law, TIPO officer. And he is a historian, my grandson. There is a place for a historian. There's a place for an archaeologist. There's a place for an anthropologist. And my plan was that our children, if they want to pursue their education, maybe we might have our own anthropologists. Maybe we might have our own archaeologists. And that whole office there, that can be self-sustaining, you know. They can be, people can work there and retire there. And I think I created a monster. But now Emerson, I recommended him, and he's getting back on his feet, and he got this idea from Rocky Boy. And they have a multi-million-dollar project. And hopefully soon, you know, we can be likewise, you know, we can be self-sufficient, and you might be able to assist the tribe in any of its financial needs. And so we can be that way, but it takes all of us. We have to work as a team, you know. It's the will of the people. A group of us can do it, you know. This has been our downfall throughout the years. A few people plan it, but if you get the will of the people, it'll work. And what you spoke about, touched upon, Tongue River. I brought this up last time. We're in the process of a proclamation, 108 or 109 million acres that we Apsaroge proclaim as our homeland. It has treaties, it has crow claim, and the land of the river crow, from Elk River to the White Water, White Vichigare, Milk River, it even runs into Canada, that river. And I have stories that I've completed, and my only one that I don't have too much knowledge as far as Grizzly Bear Lodge, the one at Chiazal. I know about it. There was some children playing, and these siblings. The older girl, they play bear, and she didn't want to be a bear. Finally, she said, "Okay, I'll be a bear." And she told her little sister that if I play a bear, I'm going to be a real bear. And if I'm a real bear, you do this, you hide, you do this. And then those children ran onto that boulder, and that bear, where it clawed, is those marks. And she went into that boulder, and that's why it's called Chasao. And if I get some help with that story, and then we can get our proclamation going soon, and we want to amend that treaty, those national holidays. If we amend that, then we can proclaim that area back to 3000 BC. Because we acquired the teepee after we settled in this area around the Big Iron Mountains. And those teepee rings are over 5,000 years. So that's what we're using. So hopefully we get started. And I went to, at the request of Tipo, I went to Wind River. If I was going to ask to introduce myself, I was going to say, "Welcome to Apsaroge country. I'm not a visitor, I'm a listener. This is the homeland of the Qtr Belly." I was going to say that, but they wouldn't allow me to speak, so. But hopefully we'll get there with their help, everybody's help. So thank you.
Any more comments, questions? Oh, sorry. Sure. Mr. Amy Hunter, next presenter.
I failed to mention that Bertie Realbert, Education Cabinet Head, had to leave town on emergency. That's why she's not doing a presentation, but I believe you do have her detailed reports. So from there, we'll move to Henry Wright's Horse, Crowland Security Cabinet.
We'll recognize Henry Rice the horse.
Oh, Speaker, Secretary, not Vice Chair, members of the body, guests, CEO. Homeland Security, public safety, structural fire, search and rescue, planning and logistics, dispatch. Boy, that's what I oversee. Time and logistics by, there's no funding. I have no employees over there. But I got a 32-hour work schedule in public safety, what I'm called, structure fire, all 4 employees are 32 hours. And they not including grants there, Sorna, he was, it's all said, I do, but you missed it. Law enforcement, for the, well, staff, for that 22 there. How much you? And the over now departments there, the collage, we hate that. It's just state of it. Military, Zuka, that's you should take, for example, dispatch, took that. Mazaba, they got UD, runs, like Texas. Pretty tough, competitive grants, and they don't pop up. We have to wait a while. Also, my week's got, in order for me to, and then directors get pushed up, to have grants to do. All outside by you, because we want to apply for hiring and equipment grants to fulfill what our needs are. I got that budget ball, trying to hire people and especially when we're a central program like all my departments are, there's just too few people that we do the best we can. We go out there, whether it's storming or blizzard or what have you, we're out there doing the best we can. And you bear with us for a while, a little 1 year, that's the problem I'm faced with. Like the Kagas, I'm we're doing the best we can, like I said, to accommodate some of the unemployed. Sometimes, spare with us, down the road. We got high hopes. And that's my goal. Sometimes it's frustrating. In that position, but sometimes. And other than that, like I said, we're doing the best we can. About a few weeks ago, flooding, ice jams, really watched. Departments soon, they stepped up to the plate to assist us. Incident commands tomorrow. Technically, like I said again, like the because of lack of funding and equipment, we had to rely on these other departments. And I take my hats off to all the departments that assisted. Michigas, sandbags, we did the best we can. We can't please everybody, but we did a good job. Oh yeah, good. I got 2 vacant law enforcement. And I gotta go Asia. I want to do our own backgrounds. It's not BIA. We're a nation nowadays. But they saw we have that authority to commission our own officers. So I'll give you some. And that's my goal right now. I gotta see over there. MOU, I don't agree with that MOU. You that? Well, yeah, actually. You're sure we got tribal officers. We need all the authority to the chief of police to oversee. That he can use it, chief. Now, Bobbit, spot money, come you catch that. Deal with there. I can't do nothing. So that's very important. And it's time, it's time that we start taking over, not DIA. It's us, Crow Tribe. Watch your boy, you way, we could have, hustle that way. Look, the BIA, we can't handle it, why not just give it to BIA? Have them run it. Now, we're able people. We want charge. Deal with it, we could even. And that's why I'm pushing. I'm continuing to push. And, boss is bad. We get sued, and you guys. Sonny Joe said we need to work as a team. Like that, never they also have a risk of working well, good God. You don't have to worry about grants. We can be self-sufficient. Minerals fall at charge. Resources fall at charge, yet we look to grants. Why is that? Opus salary ustać. Bila var kruši u čemu ustać. Kod kolega FBI they'll have to ask permission from the Crow Tribe. And that's my goal. As I was state of Montana, and the U.S. government, when they want to change it, it's been too long. You have to start setting up to plate. And no report that truth they do. They then Bob Buller's generators like the chief process guys and do all this. And you show. For now, we'll get generator that and I'm all tight. Could save you in a couple of weeks. But from there, we have to apply. Good, we'll get one. And then each district, you'll get one. The process condition, that's the method. Going state, Coraja, Bigrish. On Hawaii, it was out, but we had to start all over. Because was basic, for good,
Oh, floor is open for questions, comments. Floor is Conrad Stewart.
Thanks. I know that you're doing a good job with what little that you have, in my case, we had that issue with the flood and all the houses down the way along the river road there, and there's a lot of people we don't hear like even in here. Sometimes we feel like it's a thankless job, but because all you hear is the 5% that complain how bad you're doing a job. But there's people out there that appreciate. We do appreciate that. And I've constantly said this. Every other year, we always have a catastrophe here, whether it's fire or flood, or both. And we've been pretty lucky and fortunate, because right now we don't have the funding. If we can get the funding and then we can establish preventative measures on the reservation, there's something we can try to get moving. And that was the suggestion I made before, is that we need to establish a Crow Tribal disaster emergency plan. So then that way we can get you a line item on the budget. Right now you have no line item on the budget. It's just intended. Once we get that Crow Tribal disaster emergency plan established, then we can incorporate Yellowstone County, Bighorn County, Federal, Crow Tribe, everybody. Once we take the helm on this one, then we're going to be at the lead. Then those dollars that they retrieve, we can retrieve them dollars. And so then that way we can find you a line item on the budget, we can feed that line item, and we can fight for them dollars to push for that. Right now, there's just no, it's always kind of a good intention. Everybody kind of wants to get together and then join up at the ICS command and eat pizza and drink pop, and then they don't want to go out there. But there's the ones that are out there are the ones stacking sand and gravel, and they're out there. They're out there getting the propane tanks, they're getting the propane trucks to the tanks, they're getting checking on the elders. They're the ones that are getting out there clearing these roads. And I commend you for the things, because I've been involved. I know a lot of you guys can make yourself available for a lot of these meetings, these ICS meetings. There's a lot of things that are going on in every one of your districts. These meetings are important, so then that way you can relay that to your people. I put everything I got, I put it on Facebook, so then that way people see those phone numbers, they have something going on, they can make these phone calls. And right now, these situations that are out there that are going on, we need money for it. And whatever we can do here, I'll back you up. Natural Resource Committee is going to back you up. We need to get those dollars, we need to establish that DES plan, and then that way we can get you a line item on the budget. Right now, everything's just good intentions, you know, but, you know, it's gotta be concrete evidence. Right now, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, you know, and we don't want that route. We've been on that road too long. We need to start acting like a sovereign nation, start taking ourselves seriously, establish a DES plan, take the helm. Yellowstone County has to come and ask us, Bighorn County has to come and ask us. Instead, here we are. When we ran out of sandbags, not just the sand in itself, the bags that were full, but we ran out of the bags. We said, how do we get more? And he said, ask Ocker. Bighorn County. We're Bighorn County. And we had to go and ask that guy for help. I mean, that's the thing I'm saying is that we need to establish these, and the BIA needs to step up to the plate. I mean, they just point fingers and then they don't want help. I mean, to a certain degree, and they cry that they have no funding. I always bring this out. The BIA is here to help us. We're not here for them. If we're not here, they don't have a job.
Oh, CJ, you have a comment?
Yeah, before I go, that last incident cost $1,204.52 for man hours, the equipment rental, and liquor, it was cheap. And the other last incident that I had was well over 50,000. And I feel that a few less departments that were involved in that ICS, it worked, you know. So basically, we don't need 500 guys out there. Some of them not doing anything extra. The last incident, the things I saw, everybody was out there working in basically, and that was just about probably 88 of us out there. And equipment with mail, procurement, housing, the vehicles everywhere, fishing game, logistics, work, they were out there. And we had to borrow trucks from procurement as well as AML for our fishing game department. Let's pick up all look at it. My department, we don't all look at it. What do I lots? So we only got one in my department. So anyways, that's the question they do. And also, I want to thank the vice chairman for signing the declaration that helped. Thank you.
Florian is Carl Burns.
Speaker. Now, Hank, just a comment on, and my little holiday, we hear free. And now, there's a bunch of excuses and we have to go to line item for it. That's correct. Emergency security department's gonna hold the other. Kaliwakti divide. One department courage follow the view should soup go. At the line item, it's next easy for you gotta have a line item. Get an emergency plan for the Crow tribe. Bighorn, you do all that. Bighorn County, you do school with TikTok issue. I go tell it that Crow still, all still give all of it. FBI knows. Yeah, they knows. Bighorn County knows. Crow tribe given all of it. You credit the chief. And each is our body shake you. I did the father to build all of them. Build paper was build follow up cut for yet to all the time. Absorb the build new At pagkasat, dihawis siguro mahoy, ati daw, chicken good pag oksha utak, bakdawa ni kay ko rin yun, nagay na siya siguro, pala yun, pala walo, iwali mo. Yan, ilalaya, boats kaya, RVs, ATRVs kaya, binay, mawalo, ahok. Alakaja train goes search and rescue. Yeah, the train goodbye for our own Crow tribe. But he tried to rescue the state of Montana. Because we're a nation, we're not part of the state. Why do we have to go into the state for charter? The arguments major because Malewa Harris, the state of Montana, big old county. I hope.
One more. Floor is there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, Vice Chairman, Secretary, members of the body, Executive Cabinet Heads. Just a reminder, snow. Just wanted to remind you, families do amazing. Just wanted to say that much. Oh.
Look, eventually, give up hope with the bill. And a few people we got, we were gonna start sending out there, and they like Billings City. City go, detectives say, I'm gonna ask why, you'll get William Paulson and contact Kitty, and we're gonna start setting up something up to, in Billings to do some more searching. And we're still working on it. And then, we'll let them know. So,
Oh.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
We'll recognize Luke Enemy Hunter for the next presenter.
Next presenter will be China's White Man, Economic Development Candidate. China's.
We'll recognize Janice White Man, Shanice Whitman, Logan Rush Shook.
Tell the story,
Hello. Most of you guys don't know who I am. My name is Chanice C. Whiteman, the bull rider, not the bullshitter.
Wonderful.
My little brother here, Dookie, it took me a while for him to become where he's at right now, where he speaks perfect English. One time he's going out for basketball at Edgar. They had some things over there where you could jump or try to touch. So Doogie was baffled looking at the little things. He goes up to the coach and says, "Is that the measurement of how jump you high?" So now you can hear him speak English. Basketball trips, I used to speak English to him, so he finally came out of it. Have, had, all that, I had to get him straight. So sometimes he makes little mistakes, but now he's almost as good as he is today. So that was the hardest teaching I ever had, being a teacher and all. But I mastered it. That's where he is today. You're welcome to me. Okay, you guys already have my report over there in front of you, but number one is our convenience stores. We negotiated Fort Smith gas station for, they started at 1.2 million, so we got them down to 525,000, right, Kurt? And we're ready to purchase it, but as CJ says, he's always blaming the executive. We're blaming the legislatures for the slowdown. So you guys gotta get us the okay so we can start buying these C-stores and moving ahead. And over at, Wildlaw, Dana has control of that. And Prior, we're getting ready to knock them houses down and start building over there. So I think what the furthest we got is Prior, we got the money and everything for that. And AJ is negotiating to purchase the farmer's unit in Lost Grass. Now I don't know how much money is it. 225,000?
First offer, Chairman, first offer.
The chairman offered 225,000 for the farmer's unit in Lost Grass. So we're up to par with that, and Jeannie's not here, but we negotiated the price for the church over at Dunmore. I think we were at 125,000.
142.5.
You went up, bro? Are they going up?
Hooterite Church.
Is it?
The Mennonites,
Mennonites.
that was the final offer we agreed to.
Okay, so we got that. Did you okay with that? Let's okay. Finally did something right. That's good. Good man. Anyway, tourism. You know, before I got up here, I said I was gonna make sure I busted CJ in the face so he wouldn't ask me any questions. But CJ, I'll let you go this time. I was just kidding. That's an inside joke. And Dookie. But anyway, tourism. We already got a bus that we're gonna purchase or we're gonna rent. It's about a 20 passenger bus for the summer, so we're set to go on tourism. Pending. Motorcycle. But anyway, we're creating tourism packages and all that, and we want a bus that's dependable so we can go over to Prior too. Like Doogie says, we overlook Prior all the time. That's where we're from. And it's a sight to see over at Plaincoast Park, the Sacred Spring and Honeycomb's house and everything. So we want that tourism to go all the way over there to see the sights, you know, and see how beautiful the reservation is at one site Prior. The land acquisition proposal, 3 acres. Oh yeah, the 3 acres was given to the tribe, to the school over at Prior when it first started in 1960. Then school district number 2 has the right, and they're gonna give the land back, and that's where we're gonna build the C-store right across.
Community center.
Right across the community center where Doogie hangs out. And farm and ranch business, we're about ready to go with that. We got, right now they're over there checking out the shack ranch to see what's going on over there. And one of the guys that didn't get the lease has about 30 head of horses there, so we need to get them out of there. And we're ready to go on that, except that legislatures are holding us back. You know, it's a sad story, but always legislatures. And for LLC, we had four of them that were new this quarter from January to now, and 3 renewals were made for LLC. And without further introduction, I got a new director for economic development, right, AJ? My new economic development director will be Newton Oakrow Jr. So Newton's going to come from education to economic development. Then my brother-in-law, Sargi, is working on the figures for, is it water? The financial mechanism of the banking. So Sargi, you could come up here please and explain to these guys. And also I have a old basketball magazine, 1992, February 20th, 21st and 22nd. And the chairman's picture is in there. Whoever wants to buy it, we'll start the bids at $100. Thank you.
Floor recognizes Robert Sargi Howe.
Oh, Monty. Mr. Speaker, Secretary, senators, and good people out there in the executive department. Inawaga kojik kishewa kagon manfaat bigina. Ichik ya ho diu kuwaga du pe irik sije shir me otka. Dik diu shu inawaga kha. Ha. No pe yer kini ko shai na. Diu man yo di go di ka di Diu man ka. Ichik. Diu je hubuk. Hesa. Wales Foodtail. Attorney Wong, I go out with the attorney, marriage problems, Jewel gun food to Bak Community, he may hang you. Attorney Wong, Jewel go to Bahaj, or the mule good then. And then I stress Jewel's already hate to. And how the mule good at Idia, oh, shoot, I got CJ. Yeah, there's a lot of them, including Wales and Dewey Boottail. So I guess you, Greasy Mouth boys are all Jews today. Anyway, okay, guys, it's befitting we're talking about Jews because we have to talk about business, you know. But you can't talk about business in a vacuum. You can't do that. And all of you, every time you talked about your sovereign power. You gotta exercise that. That's number one. We have to know who we are. We're Crow-Indians. We have a nation. It's recognized by the United States Constitution. And it says that you can exercise your own laws, which you guys are doing. And we respect you for that because you're doing it. It's a hard job, tough job. And like CJ says, you're going to step on a lot of toes, especially when you leave the confines of the reservation. You're going to be looking at Tester, Danes, NZ, Barrazo, your colleagues out there. But you're a nation, remember that. You can create your own laws. That's so important, you know. But we need to start making it happen, practicing it, and that's good. And Darren, Dana, CJ, and Sean, they're looking at supporting all the good deals that are going on right now. I understand that there's a lot of individual programs that are going on, but remember, you have a good attorney here too that understands this legal relationship here. Jay, I want to say that to you guys. Jay is the type of guy that will take the time to look at something and get into it and debate it rather than coming forth with his ideas to stop anything. He works with things. He understands this. So the first thing that, one of the things that I think we need to do that we've been working on through AJ here is, I think, did you pick this up already? Read this through, I won't explain it, I'll just talk about the model here. We're trying to establish, or recommending a framework to be established so that your businesses, your C stores, your the Black Lodge thing that you're doing, what was that again? They were doing the meat packing. The meat packing thing they're gonna purchase. But remember, just like your attorney said when I came in, Jay says, every dollar that we get from payments, from your salary, to making a profit on a business, to getting anything, it leaves the reservation and goes into a different economy. All that money needs to be retained here, and that's all AJ and the other executive people want to do is develop that framework so you can practice your sovereignty and your laws undergirding this framework that will make it Crow, that will make you a Crow nation in terms of the economic system, so that you control the land base. And I want to emphasize that just a little bit. Land, you have individual landowners, you have your tribal landowners, but you also have fee lands. And it gets to be a little messy when you try to enforce something because the jurisdiction is so crossed over that it's a problem. But there are laws on the books, and I learned this from my grandson really, but I call him my little brother because of my sister Shirley, he apprised me of some laws that undergirded some other tribes that really made them strong, and they're in Washington. We'll talk about that, but I just want to talk about this thing. If you want to get your control of your money, you have to establish institutions that will speak at regulating your finances. We need to do that today. And I think my clan son, Dookie's been attempting to do a lot of things looking in that direction. And if we get this framework in there and adopt this framework, then we have something to work with. But at the same time, people will recognize that you're looking in that direction and will start speaking at practicing your sovereignty and trying to bring all those monies in here so that it'll circulate on the reservation rather than leaving it all the time. So what we're trying to do, and AJ said it nicely the other day, we're going to patch that big hole that money goes through and pump it up to the reservation so that we have recurring income and try to get away from this reliance on outside money. CJ said it, a lot of you guys are saying, let's use our money. Why do we have $500 million in a hardened bank when you can have it in your bank? And generally, not only the interest, but if you read this article, we'll get into it, banks are there for another reason. They leverage, they create new money. And I think that's what we're after. And you got another $85 million in another people's bank called the U.S. Treasury. And then you got $30 million being held by the Conoco outfit, and I'm sure they've got it in another bank. And I'm sure we're not getting the interest on that and the leverage from those monies. So what we're trying to do is to get this model in place. This model is called a circular flow of resources. It talks about people's land. It talks about your labor. And you've got a college over here that we can work with and start training people, getting people in there. My little brother here has talked about that a while. We also need equipment. But since there's no bank, there's no savings, so that we can't get money to buy tractors, whatever. We need to do that for ourselves. We've got that money here. And then you're entrepreneurs. But if we start teaching you on being entrepreneurs, you wouldn't have this to work under. You'd have to go to Hardin, Billings, Sheridan, and try to borrow money. And I'll bet you just a few of you guys will get money for it. But if you make money and profit, and if you generate income for your wages, your rental, that money needs to stay on the reservation and develop the reservation, not somebody else's economy. But finally, I want to leave you with this. There's a lot more we've got on a PowerPoint here that we'd like to visit you with. But 2009, all million acres owned by individuals, Croatian individuals, they leased it out. 1 million acres. And since then, they told me that we lost a lot of land to fee status. So we'd have to do our own inventory to really believe them on God. But those million acres, everybody leased it out. You know how much they got? Eric, that's stuff. All million acres, individually held land, when they leased it out, they only got $6 million in total, in total, 1 million acres. You know how much the 700 farmers got out of that?
576 million.
Just for cattle and for the crop, just for growing the crops and just for arranging them, they made $102 million. Now, if those cows went to a feedlot and to a meat packing company, they surpassed that amount you're talking about. And then for a sugar factory, then they add more money on there. And then again, I'll talk about my clan kids. I was talking about barley. It says I think we're gonna, Whistling Waterman, Greasy Malt boys are gonna use the barley to make beer. And boy, everybody jumped up and says, I wanna get into that. Greasy Malt boys, Coke, kids. But the whole idea is to keep that money here. That's $500 million to look at the interest that bank is gonna make. Are you getting anything out of them? Are we getting interest, just interest? We're losing that. But if we had our own bank, your own financial institution, you get your interest plus the leverage that you get out of that. And the attorney that's advising CJ and Darren and the rest of them told us this: for every $2 million that you guys own, you can leverage $17 million. But you gotta own your own financial institutions. We're talking about a market, and read this, there's 3 markets here. We have to have markets in order to generate the income so that our standard of living, meaning each person would make money to start buying things. So important korekbredadu. And not only that, but I'll finish with this. If we had our own bank, we'd have the savings. Then people, and all of you guys I know, want to be entrepreneurs. You want to get your land back, you want to do something. Well, we can have it here. And it's called investment. You buy the land, labor, capital, and yourselves, pay yourselves to establish a business, and that money should stay here. All that money you make should stay here, and look at how much that bank can generate. You own it, so you make more money there. So your per capita income is going to go up. You're going to have money to buy your own capital. You'll have 4 sources of income, but you can open up anything. Not only a bank, but a credit union, savings and loan. We can have all of them here, but you guys are so crucial to this whole thing. We need to develop laws that would do that. And I understand there's a lot of them going on right now. But if we don't have that framework, all that money is going to be lost to hardened billings elsewhere. So I'll be working on this with CJ and Darren and Sean and Dana. And I've done a lot of research on this for the last 30 years. And I've done that with the college. And we're finally at a place where to get banking my DY request. And we're explaining this. So we've got a narrative on this. We'll go from there. And hopefully we can get that started so that your recurring income now, they're working on the electricity, the C-stores, coal. All that money should be here. It shouldn't go elsewhere. It should be retained here. And maybe you'll have so darn much money that you won't want to go into business yourself. You'll hire somebody else to run your business. It might end up that way too. So there's a lot, and the whole issue is regulation. Regulation. You have the power in your hands to develop that regulation, that law. We'll have equity, and people will get the money, and I think we'll all have some enjoyment in that pretty soon. So it's that kind of an arrangement that we're looking at right now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like bakshkoli wawalo, wala watai ka 07, 06 daija. So the floor is open for questions and comments. I think they're all ready for a 5-minute break here.
Okay, so no questions. You can take questions from anybody except CJ and Dookie, so we're done.
Okay, the time is 2:48, 5-minute recess. Director, Enemy Hunter, wrapped up with all the cabinet heads, and now we'll recognizes Sean Backbone, Vice Secretary of the Crow Tribe, to give his report. We'll recognizes Sean Backbone.
Thank you, Speaker, Secretary, visitors. Laga as Vice Secretary report visa the cutbug. Constitution could go be Shavin. Laga Crowland Security, Veterans Affairs Office, Youth Planning, Crow Residential, Health Human Services, Tribal Roads Maintenance Program, Boys and Girls Club, and Water Bottle Project. Can I just oversight? I go get the update. Crowland Security, youth office staff. They've been keeping tabs on the weather report for any future possible flooding. State ball over 100 inches of snow this year, so it might be a possibility to monitor it. Clinton House, email with it, keep us informed on that. Veterans Affairs Office, so that, Consolidated Warriors Department groundbreaking ceremony has been scheduled for May 8th. Clear your calendars for May 8th. I believe Dane, Tester, pretty much all of Montana's going to be here for that special day for our groundbreaking. Paul Squindy's currently working on a cemetery grant by their $1 million project. We can have our own cemetery and everything for our veterans. Now youth planning, it ties in at DOJ. Through the month, they'll be doing cultural activities. March, Pretty Eagle. Then this month, they'll be going to Wildwood School, CJ, on their program. And the one with Crow Residential, Montana State Board Housing will be conducting meeting on that day, May 8th, here in Crow. First time ever on the Montana Board of Housing that they're going to have a meeting here. Kawabe, tax credit, what do you do? So Kawabe can meeting at Korea tomorrow afternoon. They're going to come to the festivities because they gave us $2.1 million of tax credit money. So Carlos, good you watched it, now planning so planning meeting veterans representative data will keep you updated on everything. Per cap will be held if residents have not been making payments on their housing rent. It's good to Sergeant Howell was talking about a bank. We can have a bank over here, then we don't pay our rent over here. There's something wrong with that. We have to pay our rent. And if we pay our rent, then there'll be more houses. And I'll get more to that after I get through my program, my report here. Human health, diabetes, substance abuse, CHR, Stadia, Codovit. I've been going through our different programs right now, doing teamwork activities. They all have spring. They have personal conflicts within the organization. So I'm going through there with the chief officer, Larry Blacksmith, and I have been pretty much hitting each program to do teamwork, transparency, chain of command, and kind of reiterating our different policies within the programs, and teaching them how to be supervisors too if they need that help. And it's been pretty good so far, so we're starting that in my oversight. And I think last week we were pretty busy all week with that. It's pretty good work. And that way I get to know the workers who work within our organization and who needs help and things like that for our programs. If the program doesn't do the goals and objectives, then the people hurt. They don't get the help that they need.
because the organization is dysfunctional. And when a person comes for help, they don't get help. And we don't want that. When a person goes to an organization and that organization is healthy, they'll get the help they need right there. That's what we want. So, and then the tribal roads program, Clifford Burton Ground is the supervisor. When I was a transportation committee member here, chair, we worked on it. But now it's, we're moving away from transportation and that CHR over there, CFR, and it's coming under the tribal side. So we don't have to go through red tape to use our own resources as in minerals to make these roads. We had a meeting with the Bighorn County commissioners last week, and they gave us millings. We got 3,000 millings and some more millings for the roads. So right now, that program, there's Linda Morrison, there's some other ones, they're making up a list of priorities, so when we go through with this, the lanes, the tribal lanes will be fixed, will be done accordingly. And elderly would be a priority. So I want to let you know that, so when you let your constituents know, let them know to call that organization so you can get on the list, where they are, you know, the land description, what needs to be done, things like that. So we can get that going. Put them on the list. We already have some calls already. And the other one is, I went and we met with 107th a couple weeks ago, updated 107th. And it was good to go to 107th over there. And prior to the week before, we went over here. And we still have to make our way to Lost Grass. But updating them on what we do, it's called transparency. There's really nothing to hide. It was a really good meeting we had with them, and they were pretty well. They took it pretty well because Pryor is a long way from here, so we have to. So I'm trying to get every Tuesday get a different tribal program over there, so you can do your presentation with them, or even if you guys want to go over there. So it's good just to kind of keep things going, keep communication flowing. Boys and Girls Club, Bill Snell is contracted to develop a 501c3. We're going for nonprofit status first, and he's working on that, and we'll be bringing it to session here one of these days. I believe in July. He's been backed up for this session, so it might even be a special session, so we'll let you know on that. But I want to let you know that we're still moving on that. One of my bottled water personnel, Greg Carlson from Gillette, he did all the water over here. I believe it was 7 Arrows, the drilling rig, and he's got the tests of all the waters. Golden Arrow. Okay, 7 Arrows. I don't know where that came from. 7 Arrows. I looked at Eric and I just got burned and said 7 Arrows. Yeah. It's a sweat joke. But anyways, that Golden Arrow is knows all the water quality. So we got that. We got the quality water, but we just don't have B yet. The backer that's going to help us make this bottled water. And went to San Diego the other day, and there's some tribes over there that don't have water at all, but they got the money. So I've been kind of talking to them, and they might be coming to here. But the other thing I wanted to was this pretty good. I'm going to leave this here. You might want to make copies. It's called Navajo Flex Creek Building System. What they do is, I want to bring them over and do a presentation. Let them do a presentation to this body because they use the coal ash. They use the coal ash and they make bricks out of them. And they're $11,000 for a home, and they're good in the winter and they're good in the summer. So it's really it was really interesting to see that because right now we're really having a hard time, with our homes. We got, our speaker lives in a trailer, our chairman lives in a trailer, our chief judge lives in a trailer. I live with my sister. Something's wrong with that. We have all the resources in the world, and we should all have some good homes. So that the knowledge that you have and we got to put it together and bring something in for our people. So we always talked about economic well-being, and that's economic well-being. you know, and we're working on that. So I wanna leave this here. You can circulate it around and see what we can come up with it. But other than that, you don't have any questions for me?
Floor is open for questions, comments. Floor is Conrad Stewart.
Point of order. I always wanted to say that.
You know that, I talked to that bunch, the Flex Creek Navajos, and prior to Darren being chairman, when he was vice secretary, he was head of the oil and gas committee, energy. I asked him to look into this Flex Creek because the Navajos, they utilize a lot of that. Like you said, building homes, sidewalks, roads in Phoenix and everything around there. And the problem we have here with this fly ash, it's that the scrubbers they use over here to clean the stacks, clean that coal, they use ammonia. And the power plants that use lime, they pulverize that lime like a powder, mix it with water, and they shoot jets straight across. That smoke goes through, and that lime catches everything. So all that ash that has lime in it, that's the reason why it's valuable. Over here, this fly ash, it's pretty dangerous. Even the volunteer fire department talked to me as the representative of Black Lodge District, and that's why I was talking with our EPA guy at the time. He was EPA, and we're still going to continue that. Try to some of the issues there. If that breaks down, that ammonia comes down this valley, right through here, through our district into Croatian Sea, and that's poison. And that's why it was so crucial that when we talk to them, that they utilize our lime. So in that way we could bring a pulverizer over here to have that lime crushed for them, so they can scrub that in their coal with them stacks. They can use that lime. And that way, in turn, we can also benefit, and they can benefit from the value of that Flex Creek. And so that was something that was ongoing then, and it kind of fell off the grid. And I know Darren had a study done by DMD come in, and they took buckets, 5-gallon buckets of that ash. And so now, that was the result of that. But that was I guess the solution is our lime for that area. So then that way we can use that and sell it to them. Build homes. Like what you're saying. But right now, as we speak, that we kind of went down that road, and they can't do it with this kind.
Thank you. I wonder what if Coast Trip has that? Because they said they have a lot of fly ash over there. Be something to look into. Any more questions?
Floor is Gerald Stewart.
Oh, Speaker, Secretary, Executive, yes. The positive change final program, veterans, right? Chigashtu. Bill, na Canuck, Speaker, Garrett, there's a storm veteran, correct? Bill, you could show much. But in the future, then outlining districts, maybe we can get a cemetery, homeless housing. No, Brandon, Ronnie Stewart, mine's up, and Brandon, you're quick, and get team in the future, no, body great, you cook them, they will shield, because they got a family member or know someone that's a veteran. Oh.
Thank you, Senator Stewart. That is correct. This project here we have on top of the hill is the first project. We didn't want to go. We could go for a bigger project, but we wanted to kind of build a foundation. And then after we build that foundation and it's all good, then there's another tax credit project that what you're talking about. We can go further for that. So yes, that's a good question. Yeah. Thank you.
Floor still open. Oh, Sean. Sige, mega tibag hot spring spoke at GTV training work.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Secretary of the Crow Tribe, Agent Alvin Not Afraid Jr.
Oh. Speaker, Secretary, Legislative Body, executive members, and guests. First of all, I want to recognize that we've been in office for a year. And this first year, there's been trial and errors. And there's remnants of an old system that we're slowly dismantling. And that system needs to be revamped. I've expressed it numerous times where we never looked outside the box. We've always run an administration as status quo. We've allowed the various experts to continue to run various things, such as one of your main questions: what are the CPAs doing? What is finance doing? What is economic development doing? We've had certain players in the positions to try to move us ahead, but yet at times they're, again, the system that is in place, whether you want to call it politics, whether you want to call it just personal characteristics of an organization that would be in opposition of itself moving ahead. And these staff members can give scenarios as to what they've done, what they've tried. A good example is, I see Sean Rober here. He's a prime example of a lot of the various avenues he wanted to take his tribe to, but whether it's politics or just downright someone upset with him would deter that or influence that from us getting ahead. So I wanted to recognize that, and I believe Sean knows what I'm talking about. We all have our own differences. Again, the mechanisms that have been in play 30 plus years don't want to see a change. You know, change is hard. We call it the positive change team, but even when we go and sit at our desk, you know, again, you're in a cycle where things have been status quo for 40, 50 years. And no matter what side of the fence you're on, what happens is it's not good enough. You're not pro enough. You're not this, you're not that. So these come into play. And so as we're trying to stay focused and benefit our government to move ahead, reorganize, restructure, look at new ways. Whenever it's new ways, it's, you know, to the people who are conditioned, it's not the right way. It's not the right way, only because, say, like we had a talk last committee meeting where they were talking about the sweat lodge. Sweat lodge, you go to someone's sweat lodge in Wyola, then you go to someone's sweat lodge in Black Lodge, then you go to Pryor. I guarantee you all three have a certain way of doing something. But if you're from that sweat lodge, that's how you're raised, that's how you do it. But when we look at others, we don't contradict that, because our fathers, our grandfathers are relatives to each other, so we somewhat have an idea of how that's done. But if you go to a Sioux sweat, I guarantee you'll have a little problem there. I guarantee you'll say, well, we don't do it. Crows don't do it that way. So that's change is what I'm talking about as to where I'm going with this. So the background of it is, there's things that I have done that you may question. There's things that I may have done that doesn't sit right with you. I'm only applying what experience I have. I'm not trying to throw something out there to throw a curveball. So the thing is I'm willing to stick my neck out for anything that I do that I feel is right. And so that being said, there's a series of events that I've foregone that, you know, whether they don't believe that the government should be involved in that. And I just wanted to start with this. I want to thank God for putting me in this position. It's a thankless job. but I work for you as well as the rest of the Crow constituents. Ultimately, the chairman devised a pastoral committee. A pastoral committee volunteered. The chairman initiated in negotiations with them that I will pay you. They weren't looking for payment. So these are the warriors who were willing to volunteer on behalf of you to not only pray for the government but the people and assist the chairman and the other officials. And today we knock leaders. As you leaders, you know it. People knock on you, and yet I encourage you to keep your head up, because the reason why these things happen is because they don't want to see change. They don't want to see us get ahead, no matter who it is. So, you know, I felt I had to share that with you, because I was at my end of my rope there, where I felt that, where are we going? It's been a whole year, and to me personally, we raised that bar, but we didn't raise it enough. That's how I felt. But the thing is this change takes so much energy, time, and those of you in committees that want to get something moving, how long is it taking to get, you know, something done? You know, and so you all understand everything I'm saying. I just wanted to reiterate that. Okay, first of all, natural resource. Again, my cabinet, Calvin Herrera, I believe he spoke about the co-regulatory office, AML, forestry, fish and game, Thipple, buffalo pasture. The co-regulatory office, I want to express something on that. Again, those of you that are newly elected, this office would be entrusted to review reclamation, also eventually administer the permit. So when the Crow tribe wants to dig coal in the future, this would be the office to give the permit. So it's a valuable program, because again, the tribe would exert its sovereignty over members and non-members. AML currently this season, they would be assisting in some of the construction with the powwow grounds, as well as finishing the park. Forestry, newly developed, well, the program has been in existence. The purpose of that program prior to the OCAL administration was to contract fire suppression through the forestry, BIA forestry. Yet, we haven't pursued that. We did, the chairman had applied for a possible contract or 638 of that program. Right now I have them tasked with developing a business plan, as well as coordinating how we're going to work on the project with the Mandan Hidatsa Rikra, and I'll go into detail. Fish and game. Again, Fish and Game has been invited to numerous shows and exhibits, and they've been marketing their office, as well as Buffalo. THPO was put under the chairman with the cabinet and the various commissions. And again, Buffalo Pasture, I believe did they turn in their report? Buffalo Pasture? Okay, I want to just touch a little bit on Buffalo Pasture. We are applying currently. This last Saturday, I met with a veterinarian out of Laurel, and he's willing to do the application process of the Turner buffalo, which the Turner buffalo come from the Yellowstone Park, 130 head, and these animals, or these buffalo, have been brucellosis free for a period of 5 years. So they're negative. Test results are negative for brucellosis. So we on the executive are willing to apply for those numbers, because as we talked from the get-go, even though we have 1,200 plus on the mountain, that is still not enough buffalo for the Crow tribe. Economic development. I heard Janice Whiteman oversees tourism, parks and rec, the multi-purpose farm and ranch, and we temporarily assigned him the LLCs. Within tourism, Lark Paws has generated last fiscal year over 80,000 for tourism with a very limited amount of resources. So I think when we come back to the budget for next fiscal year, I respectfully request that we help her out in increasing that line item because, again, tourism for the state of Montana is the main source of revenue for their general fund. Parks and Rec, again that's in its infancy stage. What we're trying to do is develop, design, and make sure that they take care of the tribal resources, such as a prime example, the youth camp. You know, Parks and Rec should be out there, even down in Spear Siding. That used to be a nice picnic area. You know, all these communities have various key places for you know, recreation purposes, not only for adults, but even children. Multi has been on a skeleton crew, but they've been doing a good job, and I wanted to recognize that. Adrian Bird has jumped through a lot of hoops to keep it open, keep it clean. He's had problems, whether it be staffing or facility problems, heat, what have you. He should have been a farmer because he knows how to use baling twine, duct tape, and everything. Farm and Ranch. As you're aware, those of you who were in the committee meeting, the Farm and Ranch Department is currently devising a line item budget for you to review. That would contain the tribe acquiring 400 head of yearlings. LLCs, again, the Economic Development Cabinet said that we had 4 new LLCs. I would like to name them. First of all, Martina Realbird, which applied, who is the owner of Custom Power Construction. Jolene Not Afraid, Kip and Joe's Stop and Go. Dennis Beaumont, his LLC is Beaumont Ranch. Karen Yellowtail McKinsey, hers is McKinsey Trucking. So we would like to eventually report on those as to the nature of that business, because anybody can get an LLC, but they question why you apply for an LLC, but what does that do? So if we had like a little background for it, it would also assist Terrell in advocating for these entrepreneurs. Finance, Marlon Passes, which oversees payroll, contracts and grants, the CPAs, enrollment, accounts payable, procurement, supply, travel. Per capita, emergency assistance. I'll allow Marlon to cover those, but I'll briefly continue to finish out mine here. Council and district records, they handle special elections as well as any other resolutions, prior resolutions, any council records that we currently have on books. And then Montana, Wyoming tribal leaders, I serve as the treasurer, meet on various board meetings, as well as a representative in Rocky Mountain region for the various budget council meetings with Department of Interior. I included in this packet a series of things. If you go to the executive staff, secretary's executive staff, that kind of spells out who works where and contact information. I also included a flow chart of who supervises who. As far as the chairman's delegation of oversight of departments and cabinets, I also included that. And that is pertinent because at times we get calls from anybody, whether it's the legislative body or individual crows, and I'd like to cite that for the record. Chairman O'Kyle is in charge of Department of Energy, Human Resource, advisors, all committees, commissions, boards, and culture. Vice Chairman, Water Resource, Education, Public Works. Secretary Not Afraid, Natural Resource, Finance, Economic Development. Vice Secretary Backbone, Crow Land Security, Office of Veteran Affairs, Youth Planning, Crow Residential, Health and Human Services. So I also included the breakdown of that flow chart, and raise your hand if you don't have a copy of that flow chart. That flow chart shows a setting of the CEO with oversight of 10 cabinets. And those of you that assisted in this, putting this together in this model, there you can tell who oversees, which cabinet oversees which program. And there's times where they'll come to knock on my door and say, hey Jay, why isn't the WIC office open? You know, and so we try to assist and help, but we also give them the right directive of who has oversight and the chain of command, because if it ever comes down to a disciplinary action, we want to make sure that the supervisors are aware of what's going on. And I always emphasize daily, almost daily, that if we as the elected officials are dabbling in a department's issue as to they should take leave or not, that's pretty sad. That means the whole chain of command failed. There should be no reason for an official to be sitting in on an action that requires the supervisors in this chain of command to handle that problem. Any questions on that? Okay. I also included my schedule from January, whether it's travel, meetings, what have you. There's several places where it's not documented as to what was on the schedule, but a lot of those are usually in-house operations that I'm working on, whether I'm working with Marlin Passes or economic development or various programs that we oversee to improve them. Always looking for improvement. There's always room for improvement, and we always become complacent based on, oh, nobody cares or nobody's watching, or every time that I ask for something, I expect those directors and the staff to know their job and produce. Also wanted to cover in the pamphlet, we also included the special election. We also included Crow Nation voting districts as of April 9, 2014. Registered voters by district, Valley of the Chiefs, 1,145 voters. Center Lodge, 1,176. Black Lodge, 1,037. Arrow Creek, 882 voters. Valley of the Giveaway, 588 voters. Mighty Few, 616 voters. Total registered eligible voters, 5,444. 18 years and older, there's a total of 8,387. Total enrollment as of today, 13,643. I also included the codes for the line items that are they're bold. We have just every line item that finance, and I believe Marlon Passes will cover that more in depth. And then the last piece that I included was the Camp Crier, and what that is a newspaper for the Tribal Leaders Council based out of Billings. And the Tribal Leader Council is an organization that comprises of all reservations in Montana and Wyoming. Kind of more or less like one voice. At this time, I would like, before I get into finance, I would like to give 5 minutes to Funa. He would also demonstrate my duty with TLC when we travel to DC on behalf of the federal BIA's budget. Funa Tusi.
Floor recognizes Qtr Session. Sorry if I butchered your name there.
Thank you very much, Secretary, Speaker of the House. Secretary, Vice Chairman, elected cabinet, and guests. My name is Tafuna Tusi. I'm the Financial Management Officer for Montana Walmi Tribal Leaders Council. A lot of you guys heard about the Montana Walmi Tribal Leaders Council. It does belong to all the tribes. The board of Montana Walmi Tribal Leaders Council is all the tribal leaders, which is chairman or elected councilman from each tribe. The purpose of the organization is push one voice to DC on funding such as the BIA budget formulation, IHS budget formulation, or any other issue that each tribe has, because that's where the resolution will come from, and every other tribe will support. I'm here on the purpose to explain the budget formulation. As you all may know, rumors, or everybody that not familiarized with the IHS and BIA, always thought that the budget for those organizations, the director is the one that actually moved that budget forward. But I'm here to tell you that formulation belongs to the council, the elected councilmen, because they are the one that moved that budget forward. Now, for BIA budget for 466 federal recognized tribe, right now it's about $2.5 billion. And for the IHS budget formulation, for the amount that they have for fiscal year 2014 is about $4.5 billion. Now, how this process works for the IHS, each tribe did their priorities, and whatever those priorities, the top 5 or top 10 from each tribe. From that, we'll go to the Billings area. From the Billings area, we put all those together from each tribe and come up with the service, Billings area service unit budget, top 5 priorities. So we took every tribe's priority in consideration, give them a number, a score, and then from there, that's where the one voice comes from. Those are the priorities for the Billings area. Now, in DC, all the tribal leaders, chairmen from all different tribes, voiced that everything in the Indian countries are priorities. Now, from the people that moving this budget forward, it's elected through this tribal council. And AJ, not afraid, Secretary for Tribe for the BIA budget formulation is the delegate. The other is Charles Hedres, Fort Beck, councilman. And the third one, which is the alternate, is Chairman St. Clair from Qtr Session. That is the group for the BIA. The IHS area, it is Chairman Darren Gayuk for Pro Tribe, Charles Hedres for Beck, and St. Dorian St. Clair from Qtr Session, Germany. So how that budget moved, once we get it to DC, we had to argue with all those other 12 nations because each nation represent other tribes. Now for Montana, for Rocky Mountain region, from the BIA side, we only represent about 10 tribes. Alaska, one of the region, they represent probably 300 plus tribes. And we all may know that some of those tribes probably 10, 12, people for that tribe. So that's why the numbers, it does not bring out the real picture. Let me put it that way. So as we move forward, for the IHS budget formulation, we move forward the top 5 priorities. And through those 5 priorities, and I believe it was in your package that you have there, for the PIA, let's look at PIA first. For the PIA top 5 priorities from our area, scholarship and adult education, criminal investigation, police service, housing improvement program, social service, and tribal courts. From that priorities, we make the top 4 out of the 5 priorities, the top 5 we move forward. And scholarship and adult education was the number 1 in the nation. Social service, tribal courts, criminal investigation, police service, and then aid to tribal government. But for the priority, the top priority from CRO, I believe is scholarship and adult education. So then we move forward for the priorities from the IHS, and these are the top 5 priorities from the IHS. It's contract health service, mental health, alcohol, substance abuse, hospital and clinics, and health education. And then from that priority, we make the top 4. Our top 4 priorities make the national top 4 priorities, and those are the contract health service, mental health, alcohol, substance abuse, hospital, and clinic. Now, how that budget works, we argue, we change numbers, but how those numbers change is from those delegates. The delegate that move forward, they're the one represent that one voice from Montana and Wyoming. They have the authority to change those numbers in there, but from that authority, you have all the approved from all the tribal leaders prior to them leaving. So one of the great example is, as you know, football, the contract support cost. The contract support cost is full fund through Congress. And then 2014 budget, that was put it out to PIA and IHS. So what they did, they had that in the budget that we need 17% increase. So it was $150 million on that line items. So with the new information we received from Dr. Rubido during that day, we make the changes for the Billings area. And what we changed, we moved 120 million from that 150 million, put it on our priorities, our top 5 priorities. We left 30 million in there. So when we make the changes, a lot of other 12 area didn't like it. So they asked for Billings area to explain why they make the changes. And we did explain because of new information we received right there from Dr. Rubido, and therefore the change was made. So guess what? At the end, all 12 or 11 other servers changed theirs, and they changed according to what Billings moved forward with. So that's just an explanation on how the budget works. So if you guys have any question, to ask.
Let's continue with the presentation till you're done the Q&A.
We have, as you can see on the board, we set up a chart. Since the plotter wasn't, I had a plotter repaired up in Billings, and the plan was to demonstrate how not only payroll but the finances in general, how it lays, the chart, how it lays today. And the chart that was included in the handout does not reflect our current financial flow chart. So that in a nutshell kind of demonstrates that when we try to be transparent and accountable, we're working on a system that hasn't changed yet financially, based on the line items and such. It's just to reprogram it, whether it be adapting from the MIP system into a new system, computer system. The thing is we've demonstrated with this new flow chart how we can watch the dollars and tie the dollars to the programs. But the current system, the way it's set up, is you can cut checks, give it a code, and then you have over, how many codes do we have? Like fringe and everything else, the whole thousands, right? Thousands of codes. So there can be a time we can cut a check and then accidentally we code it to the wrong place. And so if we had to sift through to try to find where we coded that check, because we don't, let's say we forgot the check number, but we wanted to find the check in the system, you got to sift through all of it. So yet there's duplicate, just like in payroll, we charge out to, it gets complex. An example is Head Start. Head Start has in-kind costs, so we have to keep track of those numbers. So if we have a employee who is, say, half-time income and half-time paid from the grant, payroll shows them getting 2 checks. So, those are the things that we're trying to line out to make sure that there's no question as to making make the documents facilitate the actions. So it's a lot easier to read, easier to explain. Once we merge from that old system to the new flow chart, and we're not even there yet. We haven't even gone there yet. So an example is we have travel land management. You guys all recognize that office? Or what do we call it? Anybody have an idea what we call it? Good guess. It's called tribal leasing. So all this time we thought we had a department called tribal land management, but it's called tribal leasing. And so in-house, right hand is not talking to left hand. So, you know, we got a lot of, we're opening the door to finance, saying to the directors, bring your records, bring your documentation, have your expenses reflect your grant. Even that is a problem that we see, because for an example, all you CCRO, they have a 5-line item budget. But when you go retrieve an expenditure report, it's like there's 12 line items. So they just can't go and get that from finance, write a narrative, and then send it in. Only because it does not reflect the grant. So again, we have a system that in the past, the accountants ran the whole financial system clear from writing a report on the expenditures, which they have no knowledge of. Because if the director's spending money, Senator Costa knows, our how it runs, he knows, it's whenever you go to the mountain and you're charging to fuel, there's a specific line item you charge that to. But the CPAs may charge it, or the accountants may charge it to supplies. Yet, what I'm saying is that a director should be accountable for what they charge to. And the accountants have the luxury of charging to whatever they want. Even if they do it right, you know, they have the luxury of charging it to where they want to charge it. So we're just trying, again, it's a growing pain. It's a situation that we're in where you have improvements that need to be made, yet it's a growing pain that calls for pulling teeth. So I think we'll get there, right, Marlon? And then also Larry Blacksmith is aware of these things. So ultimately, I see where there's a possible, whether it's misuse or misaccounted for. So to narrow things down, you need to have your records reflect the actions of how the money's spent. Does that make sense? So if a director knows where the money is being spent, then when it comes to the transparency and accountability, the director can answer for you, rather than saying, finance has it. I'm waiting for finance to give me this, waiting for finance for that, finance. So it's a growing pain even with our directors. We'd ask our directors, what is your remaining balance? And they'd say, oh, finance. But see, what they didn't realize is they signed requisitions. They know their staff's payroll, but yet they're not keeping record for themselves. So they should keep record for themselves, and then they know what they have, they know what they spent. Other than that, you're subject to saying, oh, finance didn't give me a report yet. So to me, it's a poor excuse. So I get on our directors and staff that I have oversight on to make sure that that happens. And unfortunately, by doing that process, it's helped our cabinet to make sure that nobody overdrawn, and come end of fiscal year in these federal grants, the money is expended. Because if the money isn't expended at the end of the year on these federal programs, the following year that federal program is reduced because of not expending that money. So it's just kind of a general, broad idea of what we're up against, and so we're slowly chipping away at that. One guy told me, he said, how do you eat an elephant? And I said, what's the answer? He said, you eat it a little bit at a time. That's the only way you're going to eat an elephant. So, you know, I never thought of that. But at times we get ambitious and we try to eat the whole elephant, but it really can happen. At this time, I'd like to turn over to Marlon. We distributed the expenditure report, and hopefully you have those handy if you have any questions for Marlon as well.
Thank you. Floor recognizes Marlon. Passes.
Okay, gentlemen, people in attendance, solo, please. Achieve. Look, again, budget ball, 38 million, quick. Yeah, wow, last page, should have other look. Last page, page 21. Page 21. $32,461,998 good budget cookbook. And year to date, $4,246,916 for Hamuk. October to March 31st, Sagio fiscal year, Kalata football. And $20,215,081.18 correct balance ball up to September 30th. It could Canadian card. That budget balance, cash balance, they're two different things. On paper, it appears that we got a lot of money. It the net cash flow of bank, that, but the up by such got the cook. Yeah, go there. Kagon na accounts payable bills ball until Fridays. Na para drawdown go there give bank hit code kagon ilagala devo kao. By the code was so chewa check them at chewa one check them $39 could be wise to bank. In that position, Major, all but charge. Demands for that cash, requests for that cash. Sometimes you get mad if I say no. I try to please everybody the best way I can with the finances. We've got pros and cons for that code. Like CJ said, we appropriated a lot of money for land purchase last year. It's the ideal call that. Ego that net cash flow. Last time, look, it's either payroll or AP. Last year, the payroll wall. They'll get $1 million going deposit code book. That $1 million will be gone in 2 days. Payroll wall. But I hope I will still. Again, that 32 hours, hope with general fund, tribal employees on the executive side. 905,000, good how much for the month of March, general fund, that's not counting the federal portion. It either got up with 1,000 employees between both general and federal, will be about that. Everybody on our payroll. Audit, Paul, we're about 70% complete on the audit. June 30th deadline for that. So it is Akumo. Data. W2s, whatever, we met the deadline of January 31st. So yes, W2s are looking. 1099s, you go contractors, go Akumo. What it's like asking me to stack 15,000 bales in 2 days, lady. Okay, what is it? Malo yet for it. You know what? Nah, no, sorry. There, nah. With the 2 branches, guys in the executive, we have got to make things happen fast. And that cash for a while, not that goes to God, but you haven't sang, you know, gentlemen. Chairman Koda, he's in a very tough position. Why check that justice guy? Yeah, but I gotta go. We've got to act fast. Economic development. Tomorrow we'll be dispersing $3 million in per capita. Part of that's going to be going to the gas station here, the grocery store, Harden Donuts and Sturgeon. None of it is going to stay here. The only way that we can proceed is we got to move day in and day out, move day in and day out. Every day, we need to act. We need to foresee 1 year from now. Where are we going to be 1 year from now? My name was brought up on that poop sheet. And I'm glad that Darren put that in the hard paper. That's what clear so good. So better, well, he just fed Qtr Session. Que cobra pague these switch ticket. Because the academy job, and the year is just set. Because you will pague, Mama, let take her, Yahola, teaches her, Chilaji, but they get me what else can. Cobra pague, 5 to 8 times, the guy be quite good when you could cheat, it's you. We are getting at the basic. We are going to show we have to hold us a team. Now, CPAs, but not yet. Sometimes I agree with them, sometimes I don't agree with them. It come on, my CPAs, there's not that's what's getting cheap. Tested out with Baga, it just said, could I? Couldn't go. Not yet, maybe that's what's getting cheap, you know. Saptira he direkt mishish tabakui. Na January good. Na report value on this case is 1.2 million good pen left no for that. Abajo it's that. Iyoba. Yuki shit. Transparency. This is the most budget so the yet. Hey, budget quite cheap with Kunkoaba. You are your own. Could be the ship. The picture I want, Baluna. Baluish got it. Not yet, was there a special Hey, enough economic development, we need to move fast. We cannot wait till the end of this fall. We've got to start this spring. But I was like, come on, take. The way what you gave would put it. More clue too is that the Kaliolo. Corpus of a horse yellow. But he lets it. Was Bola, Kalagon, he would build. Bought the chipper would cook hurricane. Dagger in Pigala. But the Zika was a steam. But a fog is glass with the chipper. The law yes, you live. Either the one haboo. Pigala. We got the Kari, but he got a good time. Hey, barbecue. Hey, barbecue. Maria, always get on the big chat. You are good. Any questions?
So, is that all, the whole presentation now? All right, the floor is open for questions, comments.
I got a question.
This is Conrad Stewart.
You know, in the last couple of days, we heard a lot of reports from a lot of our tribal members that are in these positions, captain, director, supervisory, and why isn't our comptroller over here? You know, I just asked that question because, you know, I don't think she's anybody special that she can have privilege like that. She should be over here supporting what Marlon's saying and have to answer to some of these things that are going on. You know, we're all here to try to make something happen. And if we're talking about teamwork and she's going to be one of the main players of the team and she's not here, then that don't make no sense for us, because there's a lot of issues here that are concerning money. You know, everything in this, the whole reasoning behind these reports, it says in the Constitution, financial reports. And as the comptroller, she has a constitutional responsibility to be here to make that report as well. And right now, I don't see her here, and I know Marlon's here to make some explanations on some of these areas here. And I see the same thing. I feel that we need to get moving on a lot of things, and I've got a lot of ideas, but again, it's kind of, we get kind of hesitant because you don't want to just blurt out ideas, because a lot of times you might be willing to move fast, but then someone else, they don't want to move. And then they might want to move fast, and then, well, we're not ready to move. And right now, it got to a point now that right now in the committee, and I'm just speaking for my two committees, that a lot of these things have been bottlenecked. A lot of these legislation, they're bottlenecking the committee because, and I'll just say it for the simple fact that these departments over here can't make decisions on their own. I know the 4 officials, you guys hired these ones to make decisions on their own. But for some reason, they want to wait till you come home from DC after you negotiate whatever. You come home from Denver, you negotiate whatever. You come home from San Diego to negotiate from whatever. And they're here collecting a check, already waged, and they can't make a decision on their own. We need them to be here. The other day, we got hounded on to have a water code meeting. And I put 2 meetings together. And every time and this is just the 2 I'm talking about, there's other meetings before that weren't attended. That water code is very important. I know Darren and I have been talking about that. $20 million coming in from the water settlement on the federal contribution, as well as $15 million coming in from the state contribution. That's a total of $35 million, Marlon, that could help satisfy a lot of our problems. But right now we're paying people big bucks, directors big dollars, and he's been absent every dang time. And when I asked him to come in here, I found out he's on maternity leave. I jumped. You know, I was like, what the hell? We don't have babies. Women have babies. And this is a big issue. We got a lot of people out there that need this money to come in. We got that hydro. We're getting ready to break ground over there. We're getting ready to take care of business on that by itself. We're moving. But we need these ones to move too. The Water Settlement Office is a very important office. And when we sat here and we said we were going to have these meetings, none of them showed up. Gary Moore was sitting here unprepared. He didn't have elements that should have been here from the other director or cabinet head. They should have been here as well. And so when you talk about economic development, Marlon, I agree. But you gotta understand, it's not just us. When we talk teamwork, you guys hire people over there to make decisions on their own. Now, if they want to sit around and wait for you guys to come back, then they shouldn't be in that position. Maybe you guys should just let everybody go and make those decisions on your own. But then that's going to take away from a lot of other things that can get done. It's a team effort. So that's why I want to bring that out, because right now it bothers me on payday when I go over there, I see everybody lined up in the hallway. How come they're not at their office taking care of tribal business? There's people out there that don't have a job. There's people out there that they're on welfare. There's students out there that are going to school that depend on these people that are supposed to be in these offices doing their job and their duty, and they're collecting a check, standing in the hallway waiting for their check. I want to be a part of a team, gentlemen. But yet, we gotta bring a lot of these people that want to come to this table. They have to come here, and make their own decisions. We need to start this land acquisition. We need to start the A&D. People want to get moving. There's all this cabal. We need to get that ready, feed of trust. But yet, gentlemen of the executive branch, officials, you guys have to stop wiping butts. You hired these people in there because of their expertise. Now, if they're scared to make decisions, then maybe someone else can make a decision, put them in there. We need to get some things done. There's a lot of hold up here. We waited forever on gaming. We got that pushed through, finally. We wait forever now on this land issue. Cobal, we're getting ready to, we missed the pilot program, the bus on that one. Now the water code's right there. We're at the 11th hour. We're not even done with that. And we might end up missing out on $35 million. This is true money, not loans, not black and white. This is real money, guys. This is what I'm saying. We need to get going on this. This is just a couple examples. I'm sure there's other out there. Oh.
Okay, oh.
First of all, I'd like to address the water code. I believe that question should have been brought up when they were at the podium, not passing the buck, but that's a good point, and you want answers. I don't oversee it. Chairman Oakhout oversees that program, so maybe that question can be directed to him. Second is water resource is behind the power curve. The deadline was April for the interior to approve. So, we're behind. Last administration had 2 years to work on it. This administration had 1 year to work on it. But still, the continuity was there because you had various members on that board still on that board to make that clear. So, I don't have an excuse, but at the same time, I recommended through our compliance officer to find out if we can request for an extension to obtain those monies. Because once it's passed, then we can obtain those monies. So, Water Resource has a master plan. I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it, Larry? Water Resource, the way it works in Water Resource is, and I hate to speak for them, but I will, as an elected official, Water Resource was to comprise or put together this plan. They contracted Bartlett West. I think it was, who was the first survey? HKM. They were initially contracted. Chairman Oakhout recognized a few conflict of interest in that whole engineering system, which, good thing he was looking out for the Crow tribe, because yet engineers get a hold of our programs, they run the whole thing, at the same time their pockets get fat. So they changed with him and the cabinet went with another engineering entity out of North Dakota, Bartlett West. So Bartlett West is in charge of that master plan. The master plan at the time was approximately, according to the BOR's record, 75% complete. When this new engineering firm came on, it wasn't even 10%. So we're behind, yeah. And I'm not going to point the finger as to why we're behind, but we're correcting. We're coming up with solutions. Yet, I can't speak for the gentleman who got pregnant, but that's a good point. That's a good point. He should have been here to take care of business. Because all it is 1 day. So if he's on maternity for 6 months, we're asking 1 day to come and present because we're paying him to take care of your water resource program. So I agree. And I'm glad you brought that to my attention.
I just want to question the privilege real quick. I'm not trying to point fingers. I'm just trying to make this an issue that I think it's just an example. Bartlett and West should be here making these
Yesterday, the representative from the Water Resources Department was, I believe Jane, she's actually the IT. So, it's kinda like me sending Lorenzo over there to give her a report when I should have been there to do that. She did a good job. Granted, she did a pretty darn good job, and this is what she brought over too as well. I commend her for that. But those big bucks should go to her. You pay somebody, a consultant to be a cabinet head, big dollars, and then you pay a director to go on maternity leave while he's having his child. And then we're in jeopardy of losing $35 million, and that's gonna hold us up from not going after a hydropower plant, and then that's gonna hold us up from not getting into these power purchase agreements. That's gonna put us in a bad way. Right now, the plans that we have set aside and put forward are gonna be on hold because of a couple elements that can be taken care of in-house. If some of these folks don't wanna be there to do their job, then shoot, they should just get out of the way and let somebody jump in there that needs to do it. Because we need to get some of this stuff done. I mean, you might know a couple of things or two about a thing or two, but I'll tell you what, there's people out there that wanna do it too. We got 600 tribal members here that we have to think about. And then here we are, fiddling around.
I agree. At the same time, you're talking as to an executive function. I believe that our cabinet would be entrusted to respond to that. And right now, we would look into that. At the same time, Larry Blacksmith is in charge to oversee various aspects such as the water hydro dam project. So yet, we can discuss operations, we can discuss personnel issues, pregnancy issues, yet we're here to do a report, and those entities that work in that capacity, obviously you're not satisfied with the report, I understand now. At the same time, I believe that if we have it documented as to the lack of the operation fulfilling this time frame, we need to answer to that. I agree. So I'll take note, we'll take note.